He's so veiny. He's so veiny.
Yaloha and welcome to you know the rest. I mean, you heard the song, right? So here's a video that I actually have not watched. But when I stumbled upon it and I saw the title, I immediately thought of you. He's so veiny, audience. Oh yes. The title is The Most Powerful Way to Awaken Kundalini Through Anus Work, Chicago, Illinois. For some reason, Chicago, Illinois is in the title. And it is by Massage Continuing Education School. Let's see how quickly this deteriorates. Okay. Who's ready?
Kundalini is energy of God creation, in the material world gets trapped in the human body.
Oh no, no. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Kundalini is curbed in the body by fear.
This is everything I had hoped and more so far. I wasn't planning on a robotic voice, but I guess I wouldn't want my voice associated with this either. I don't know what's going on here just yet, but wait, did they say Kundalini is trapped in fear? I mean, I would be trapped in fear too if I worked on prison rules the way apparently Kundalini does. I don't think this is going to trigger Kundalini sitting on this thing. I think it's going to trigger fight or flight instinct, but let me just back it up here to see what was actually said.
Kundalini is curbed in the body by fear.
That's not true. I don't know what that means, but it's not true.
The concentration of fear in the body is located in the anus.
I can't speak to that.
To free up the flow of divine creation in the body, you need to get rid of fear. In the beginning, it's done this way.
Okay. I've already seen enough. So, it may have been an urgency that I wrote something about you'll stick a finger up your own butt if it means triggering a chakra. And what I was talking about there wasn't you sticking a finger up your butt, although it's your finger, but that Kundalini, if whatever the thing is that's associated with the anus in our not provable energetic biology, called the chakra system, let's say, if it is not working properly or healthily activated or whatever, Kundalini may in fact, yes, as gross as it is, and grosser than what we've seen here so far, put your own finger in your bum to activate that. Or in the event that it's just simply triggering your prostate gland or something, and it has nothing to do with the chakra, though I don't believe that, then that's what it's doing. But the point is that Kundalini maneuvers the body to do the appropriate healthy things that you have neglected, ignored, didn't know about in the first place. However damaged you are, that is to the extent to which Kundalini will maneuver the body to do such things. But doing such things on your own, as sitting on a doorbell or for a giant house up a beanstalk or whatever that thing was that person was sitting on, a butt plug, essentially sitting on a butt plug, will not activate Kundalini. Getting a rub down by a masseuse will not activate Kundalini because there is no such thing as Kundalini activation. I've talked about this in other videos, in podcasts and whatnot. In fact, I think I did one here for He's So Veiny. But it bears repeating because probably nobody watches two of these. All of that stuff about Kundalini activation, I don't know what it's activating, but it isn't Kundalini. Kundalini is the case when the sense of self is not there. The sense of self is the blockage to this energy that then becomes the will of the body, if you want to put it that way. And it moves the body around. it, I mean, let's put that in air quotes. I guess I can do that on camera. It moves the body around. And then we get confused, sometimes on purpose, by people who want to confuse us to sell something, that the maneuvers that Kundalini performs through and as the body, that those maneuvers can get you to Kundalini, and they can't. They are an after-the-fact process. Yoga, for example, is an after-the-fact. It happens as a result of Kundalini being the will of the body, being the case. And so what does it mean to say that Kundalini is the will of the body? That's a great question, and I don't know that anyone has the full answer to that, but I'll give you a clue that you could say it's universal energy that is comprised of or carries with it various flavors of spirit or spirits, ghosts of Kundalini. So, for example, I mean, as embarrassing as, and I make fun of this stuff, this is the problem with me, right? I make fun of this stuff, and then I'll say the thing that's true, and it sounds equally stupid or equally embarrassing. And then you go, well, why are you making fun of that if you're claiming this? Because this is the truth, you dummy. You get it? This is the lie, and this is the truth, and they both look stupid. I'm not denying that they both look stupid. But one's the fact and one isn't. And the fact is that, and I'll use my own direct experience, that there are personal touches to Kundalini energy. I mean, I've talked about the experience of being the persona of a Buddha at one point, of being the persona in, it's hard to get my mouth around these things because I don't want to say inhabited by, it's not a possession. I don't want to say channeling because it's not channeling. It's literally like universal energy is like water, and water looks like one thing, one entity when you just look at it and you drink it and you swim in it. But if you put a microscope to it, you see it's comprised of all sorts of microorganisms and stuff on the one hand, and then also, or at least they're swimming around in it, right? But also it's molecules, right? And the molecules are atoms and so forth. So this is like that. It's like universal energy becomes the case when the personal identity is no more. When the personal identity is not there, the impersonal identity, the universal case, becomes you. But that universal case, though impersonal to the body it may be, contains personalities within it, or personas, or flavors of beings. And these flavors of beings are always healthy. So again, there's no like demon possession or any evil thing going on. It's just sort of like whatever expert at whatever you have screwed up exists in this flow, comes to the fore, and does the thing. And there's a much larger explanation for that, but let's just leave it at that for now. So again, don't stick anything up your butt to activate Kundalini. Don't think that Kundalini, I mean, in a sort of weird technical sense, Kundalini being fear at the base of the spine or in your anus or whatever, the self-sense is a contraction of fear. The self-sense is fear. Fear of annihilation is the base of who you are. And so in that sense, kind of true. But again, these are people taking truth and swerving it into a kind of truth to make a complete fiction that is actually something they can sell, but isn't true, isn't real, and doesn't really work.
We concentrate our minds on the anus.
We do? Oh, here we go again. No. Oh, Lord.
Vibrating movements to release the tension from the anus.
Okay. This isn't gonna get any better, so I'm gonna stop watching now. It's obscene, really. And I've seen a lot of videos like this. Maybe I'll play one of them, but not like this. I mean, I've seen a lot of videos that are that equate Kundalini with some sort of sexual element here in the anus, vibrate the anus and Kundalini. But there's this thing called CAP, which is, I think, just Kundalini activation process, which are the people, maybe you've seen these videos where they like do a little puppet marionetting over a person and they start to palpitate. And then they do it over your breasts, or your vagina or your penis. And, the person really starts to come alive in this orgasmic way, of course. And they're calling this Kundalini activation. And it is as much a perversion as it sounds. It is not Kundalini activation. It is garbage. For the reasons I've already explained. And, all that stuff is, I don't know about this particularly, but that is being able to enact a sexual taboo in public, because usually these are not always, but in group settings, but certainly the masseuse is usually a stranger, right? So there is something about probably the people who do that have some sexual issues in their lives that they need to work out. But rather than go to a psychologist, they're going to go to a group Kundalini activation session and have someone dangle their fingers over their anus, and voila, they feel something. Oh, it must be Kundalini. This is not just how people make money through falsehoods. It's also how we remain asleep and in that fear. Because the truth about truth is we don't want it. It is seen by us deeply as antithetical to us because it annihilates us. And so even though we don't consciously believe that, a lot of us, we think oh no, we want the truth. In fact, that's what we're all searching for, right? The truth. We want the truth. And it's not even you can't handle the truth. It's literally the truth annihilates you. So what you want is a reaction, is knowledge, is something that evolves you, not something that shatters you, something that evolves you. And the closest we will come to this is those who do are psychonauts, who will do a drug or a plant medicine, they'll ingest it, and they will have a pseudo-shattering of the self. It's not really a shattering of the self, but it's a pseudo-shattering of the self, or a recontextualization of the self into the background, while hyper-imagination happens out here in the foreground, and they'll think that that is reality. And really, it's just, inverse thought constructs, really. And I guess while we're on the topic, let me throw one more thing at you. The idea of a higher self sort of plays into all of this in some way. And have you ever tried to meditate and your thoughts get in the way? A song comes to mind, or you just start thinking about things or whatever. And then maybe you have that moment, that magical moment where you pull back from that and you go, oh, wow, I'm thinking, the brain is really chattering and I can't get it to stop. And you have this moment of realization of, wait a minute, then who's thinking this? And then you might think that's your higher self. This is what a lot of people do. They go, oh, that's my higher self. And the brain chatter is the self. That's the ego, or that's the whatever, but this is the real thing. But if you really examine it further, I'm certain that you will feel that there's this, strenuousness to that. There's a strenuous tug going on there between you as the pulled back perspective going, wow, I'm thinking a lot, and the bunch of babble going on. And the strenuousness isn't because you're a higher self. It's because that person who now thinks they're a higher self looking down is another splintered off thought. The babble is a thought construct. The stuff running through the head is a thought construct. And the person pulled back going, oh, there's a lot of babble in there, is also a thought construct. So the elasticity of, or sort of fractally dividing up the sense of self into various thought constructs, one of which goes, oh, I'm the higher self. No, you're all the one self. You're all the Babel. And once we truly see that, you'll see that there's no getting away from the Babel, because that's just you splintering off to create another persona who's different from the Babel, who's the real higher self, or the real Atman, or the whatever word. And once the brain, doing all of this, thought, here's what I'm saying right now as completely, authentically the cutting truth, the brain may just stop the thought construct. If it sees that that thought construct is, all of it is one movement, and that one movement of seeking, of Babel getting in the way of seeking truth, if it sees all of that as the one movement that it is, it may just shut off that seeker. And if truth exists, truth will be the case. And when truth is the case, truth is, how you say, impersonal. And with that truth may just come Kundalini. So stop sticking stuff up your butt and getting massages to activate Kundalini. It's not getting you anywhere. And it's costing you money. And you got better things to do. Like watch the next He's So Vaeni.
He's so